but the drums at the beginning kind of sound like they could be on Honestly Nevermind. And I thought that was so
Wow.
interesting. But it's just some of that energy on this record um, that I'm like, obviously, Kevin doing it is going to get way more critical acclaim than Drake doing it. Like, we just view it differently.
Uh-huh.
But there's a lot of through lines from Honestly Nevermind, which is the album we loved here on album mode,
Mhm.
on this record. So I thought that was very, very interesting. And No Reply is kind of like the big culmination of all those for me
Yeah.
because you have that end piano part, which is my favorite part of the song. And then you have the Honestly Nevermind drums to start the song.
Keys on the end of No Reply. Didn't that remind you of like Take Care or something like that? That reminded me so much of Drake's music.
Good afternoon, beautiful people. This is another episode of Album Mode. We review a new album every single week. We look at the lyrics, the production, the overall aesthetic of that album, and how the album fits into the context of that artist's career. For everyone watching on YouTube, we appreciate you. Thank you. Like this video, subscribe to us, and leave us a comment. Let us know how wrong we always are. My name is Adriel Smiley, aka The Godfather, aka Champion Scribe, and we're here with His Royal Highness, aka the Bunny, aka No Longer a Munch, aka Green Goblin, King Grant.
What's happening, people? We're back. This time it's with Tame Impala and his latest album, Deadbeat. Tame Impala, one person, by the way, if you weren't aware. Tame Impala is a band, group, collective of one person that has basically become a meme in that sense, but also he's become this kind of like undercurrent to popular music, I feel. One of those artists where if you're, slightly, even slightly in the know musically, you're like, you gotta listen to Tame Impala. And I gotta applaud his ability to maintain that space and stay in that space. It's always cool to listen to Tame Impala. I don't feel like there's ever a downside. So when this album, Deadbeat, was coming out, I was amped. Everybody else I know is I don't want to say amped, but they're intrigued. And I've had a couple of people question what exactly is going on with his music after hearing this album. So I'm very curious to do this review and hear your reaction because I've heard a lot of different things.
Yeah, I was excited for this. I saw Tame Impala live 2015, so quite some time ago. And he is one of the most unique artists because very, very loved by other musicians.
Hmm.
He's collaborated with A$AP Rocky, Rihanna, Travis Scott. His music sounds nothing like their music, so I think
Childish
that's
Gambino.
always interesting. Childish Gambino as well. So the hip hoppers love him,
They do.
even though his music is not necessarily hip hop itself. And he's one of those rare artists where he has these huge songs. The name Tame Impala is a huge name, but never really considered in the center of pop. Like never truly felt like it was commercialized. But has again these huge, huge records, huge albums. In a way, I don't know if there's anyone else like this in music, at least in the modern era. In the comments, let us know who is the other version of what Kevin Parker is, what Tame Impala is, where huge name, huge artist, huge songs, but never would be considered like pop or mainstream in that way. So very, very interesting artists in terms of what they just kind of represent in the music industry. Do you have someone that comes to mind who kind of fits that mold as well?
I got it. Gorillas.
Oh, that's a good one. That's a good one. That's
Gorilla's
a good one.
perfect example. Just enough where they kind of like skate right past the mainstream, a couple of songs and then they're gone. But again, it's always cool to listen to Gorillas, just like Tim and Paula.
Yeah, that's a good one. I think that would be like this is the Gorillas of the new era in a
Hmm.
sense. Um, I want to go back in time. This is his fifth album. Inner Speaker in 2010 was I think the start of kind of him being a big deal. That was my first time hearing Tame Impala from Inner Speaker. Solitude is Bliss was the first song I heard. And I was like, yo, what is this?
Hmm.
So I was kind of in from 2010. What's the first time you heard Tame Impala?
The first time I heard Tame Impala was back in 2013, 14, when Rihanna actually
That
did,
was the first time?
yeah, what was it? Same old ways, I think. Same old mistakes.
Wow, you're not who I thought you were.
Same old mistakes. So that was
Wow,
2016.
that's
Um,
embarrassing.
no, it's not. No, it's
That's
not.
the first time?
No, no, it's not. No,
Really?
it's not. No, it's not.
Oh
I
my
was there. She
goodness.
did Same Old Mistakes, and then a friend of mine told me, he's like, yeah, it's like this is a pretty interesting like cover of a Tame Impala song. I'm like, who? And then I had to dial it back. I had to jump into the.
Wow.
But this is 2016, so nobody was really using Spotify like that back then.
You're a
Um,
commoner.
hang on. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Well, it's 2016, so people were using Spotify, but I wasn't on the Spotify train. So I went
Hmm.
back and let's say I went back and found the files of Tame Impala previous couple albums, and I went back and listened to it. So that was it. Rihanna, this is what we're talking about though, or you were just talking about that, where people outside of his musical space seem to really like his music. Rihanna, not I would not consider her I mean, actually kind of sometimes an electronic artist, but not in
Hmm.
the same sense, not in the psychedelic electronic music sense, you know what I mean? So yeah, that's what happened to me. It is what it
Wow.
is. It is what
It
it
is
is.
what you know what? There's no shame in that. In the comments, let us know when's the first time you heard Tame Impala. I'm very interested to hear. I did feel a little bit hipsterish. This is like a theme on this podcast. Um, Almost like I'm more hipster every episode, it seems
Hmm.
like.
Nice
Yeah,
shirt. You're
be
wearing the shirt to match it.
oh my
The plaid
goodness.
shirt.
Yeah, being up on a Tame Impala in 2010 definitely gives hipster 100%. But I remember at the time when Ariana did that cover that I was just like disappointed because it was basically the song. Like there was
Hmm.
nothing special she did. And that was one of the bigger songs off of that Tame Impala album at that time. So that I had already run that song into the ground. And so I was like, okay, we're gonna do something different. But I remember making fun of my brother because that was his first time hearing about Tame Impala as well.
Okay.
And I was like, man, you guys are late. You only hear it when it comes to the mainstream. And it kind of reminds me of when a big artist samples a song, and that's the first time someone's hearing it, and
Hmm.
you're like, you don't know this song? This song's been around for decades. I was that guy in 2016. Okay,
Wow,
so
look at
I
you.
apologize retroactively. I apologize here in advance for anyone who's listening to this who's also you heard of Tame Impala from Rihanna. But
Yeah.
that's why you love these collaborations to kind of bring this music to the masses. Let's
Exactly.
continue.
When we go into the future,
Mhm.
5 years from now, I'd be like, yo, see, I was listening to Think Bink before anybody else. Two Hollis before anyone
We'll,
else, you know.
we're gonna move on. We're gonna move on. Lonerism in 2011.
I
That
love that
was I
album.
like that. I think was probably when I started hearing more people talk about Tame Impala. I was like, okay, it's not just the quote unquote hipster indie kids who know Tame Impala. They've reached past that. Feels like we only go backwards.
Hmm.
Was a big record from that one, and then current to 2015. That was when the doors blew open. That's where that song that Rihanna covered comes from. New person, same old mistakes. Their biggest song, The Less I Know, the Better, which I was very surprised that this is their biggest song, over 2 billion streams. Very surprised by that. But this is where they really blew up. He really blew up as an act, and that's where my favorite song and album come from.
Currents?
Currents, and I think this is a great place to kind of go into this new project. Also, that Slow Rush in 2020 this is their first album in 5 years since
Hmm.
Slow Rush. But my favorite song from Currents is Past Life. My favorite album is Currents. And this was a time when Tame Impala kind of became in that group of, Kid Cudi, Tyler the Creator, Kanye West, of like every album will not sound like the one before.
Hmm.
There may be some through lines and some similarities, but you can almost guarantee, oh, you heard new albums coming, it's not going to be the same as what it was before. So Currents was the biggest example of that, of like, yep, this is because a lot of people, that's the first time they heard of Tame Impala, but if you knew about them before, there was no past life on Lonerism. That just wasn't really a thing. So Currents was really the big album of we're showing how different we can be, like in terms of changing the sound, and then as well the sound blowing up and becoming popular. What's your favorite song from Tame Impala, just out of all of their projects?
So I would actually go back further because, like I said, I went back after I heard same old mistakes, and I went back to Inner Speaker, Lonerism. My favorite song is actually off of Lonerism, Elephant
Hmm.
on Lonerism.
Yes, yes.
I love a good guitar, electric guitar. I love distortion. As this is well documented on this podcast.
Hmm.
But it was kind of like the guitar is like almost like a blues guitar, but then there's like these psychedelic elements that are making it all spacey and stuff like that. And again, this came out in 2012. And
Hmm.
that is a pretty modern sounding song for 2012. I feel like you can get that off today. So I think that, Lonerism, I was a big fan of Lonerism. I remember listening to Lonerism in my room when I still lived with my parents and I played the entire album all the way through. And my dad came by, he's like, "What are you listening to?" And I was like, "Oh, it's this guy, Tame Impala." It's like, the song is called, and I think I was listening to Elephant in particular, and he's like, "This is really good."
Hmm.
Like, so, um, even got my dad on the cosign, which is kind of hard to do. I'm not gonna lie to you. So,
That's big. That's
yeah.
big.
And his guitar. Well, my dad actually used to be I want to say used to be, but used to be like a rock fan. This dude was listening to like
Hmm.
White Snake. Bro, like,
I can
so
believe
this
it.
guy was definitely a rock artist or a rock fan, and then became more of a reggae fan. It's a long story, but to come around on everything, just like Elephant is my favorite song. I would say that there's maybe one song that is battling for that on Deadbeat,
Hmm.
if you can believe it. But yeah, so I'm a big lonerism person. The slow rush I kind of like better than currents. Don't kill me.
Wow, that's a big claim.
That's a little bit. I think I have currents maybe like number three. I like lonerism the best, and then slow rush, and then currents. But
Wow. Wow.
Deadbeat is fighting in the rankings because there's only like five albums.
Yeah, this is our fifth album.
So this is top five, and you're trying to figure out where in the top five we're putting Deadbeat.
Definitely top five. We can confirm that right now. You don't have to wait till the end. This is a top five Tame Impala album. First of all, I love what he did here. Like 12 songs, 56 minutes, like not conforming to what's going on at all.
I
I
appreciate that.
remember Slow Rush because that was some of my last days as a music director. So that's how
Mm,
long ago Slow Rush came out, if you guys remember that at all. But production wise, this album has so many different moments where I'm like, okay, Kevin is doing it again. This is gonna be someone's favorite Tame Impala album,
hmm
just because it's so different from the others. Um, I want to talk about some of the songs that were singles. Loser is one in particular that stands out to me as like a easy choice as a single.
Yeah.
Not necessarily upbeat, but it feels like a good choice because of the guitar like ripping and rolling throughout the whole song. It's so groovy. And his voice is it's very, very sing along, in this song. So Loser as a single, great choice for me. And to me, choosing this as a single, I think, is kind of representative of the album in two parts. There are some more songs like Loser that are kind of like this type of vibe. And then there's some songs that are more like ethereal connection, uns
hmm
music type of vibe.
Yeah.
Um,
Did I
yeah,
send you that
to,
TikTok about Oots music recently?
no, no, I don't think so.
I
But
did
if
say,
ethereal
wow,
connection is the
I
only
love that.
one.
I love that that's come back around. I love that people are calling it that again.
That never died. That never died. But why I bring that up is because there are some songs that are like adjacent. I've seen on this record, No Reply is one of my favorite songs on here. Like it was my favorite
hmm
probably the first few listens. I love the final minute, which is basically just a piano solo. Like that had me ascending. I was like, run that
hmm
90 seconds of piano back. But the drums at the beginning kind of sound like they could be on Honestly Never Mind. And I thought that was so
Wow.
interesting is that there's like some of those records. Now, again, the voice is very different, the content is very different, but it's just some of that energy on this record that I'm like, obviously, Kevin doing it is going to get way more critical acclaim than Drake doing it. Like, we just view it differently.
Uh-huh.
But there's a lot of through lines from Honestly Nevermind, which is the album we loved here on album mode, on this record. So I thought that was very, very interesting. And No Reply is kind of like, the big culmination of all those for me
Yeah.
because you have that end piano part, which is my favorite part of the song, and then you have the Honest Nevermind drums to start the song. Like those two things together is just so unique.
Yeah, didn't the keys on the end of No Reply, didn't that remind you of like Take Care or something like that? That reminded me so much of Drake's music. Like this is a
Like an outro, yeah.
somehow this is like a Drake song, even though that nobody like could you convince somebody that it's like, oh yeah, this sounds just like Drake? Like I find like you would have to be really attuned to Drake's music over the span of what, when did Take Care come out? 2011.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
for the past 14 years, you had to have been like up on Drake to be like, oh yeah, this we can be like both saying two ends of this song that sound completely different, sound like a Drake song. But it does, which is incredible. I cannot believe that Drake can even be in this sphere. But yeah, No Reply is interesting to me. You're actually touching on something that I didn't like in this album is this weird, I mean, I like No Reply. I have it liked here. But there's this weird Afro House situation that is happening on this. And I have a friend, shout out to Seam. I have a friend, DJ, who is also very into electronic music. And he was showing me is like, yeah, there's this new thing that's happening right now is Afro House. And he's like, think of like the whitest people you can think of, but are somehow kings of a genre that is literally named after a different ethnicity. And that really kind of I kind of opened my eyes, and then I'm listening to this album like Oblivion, and Not My World, I think is another one of those songs
Yep,
where
yep.
it's just like it has this Afro house, like low key, very, I guess, mid tempo, just very
Hmm.
ethereal and just even and just like it just consistently just like it's chugging like do 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 do. But
Hmm.
I'm like, there's no um next level, or I feel like only in No Reply we have that extra piano at the end, which makes it very interesting. But like sounds like Not My World, Oblivion, I think is probably the worst culprit. It just is just that, but he
Consistent.
but he's not bringing anything vocally to the space, and the production is kind of like super repetitive in a very boring way. I was out. He kind of broke me when it came to the Afro House songs.
E-
Regardless of the social commentary element of it, I'm just like,
mhm.
this doesn't really sound very interesting. And Tame Impala's music used to be and should be very interesting when
Mhm.
I listen to it.
I'm glad that we kind of got to this part talking about that sound because I have so many notes about it that I was very unsure the first time listening. Like I felt as if I should just not move and just see where this goes.
Hmm.
I didn't want to like it at first. I didn't want to hate it at first. Let me just sit here and just let the sounds wash over me and see where this is going to take me.
Right.
Oblivion is one of those where as it starts, you said, is this something off of views? Like, where are we going with this sound? And then after a while, you realize, okay, it's not going where I thought it was. It is staying more in the same tempo. But two things that reminded me of the kind of ethereal sound mixed with these drums, I think there's a place for it. Now, I don't think it's the same kind of dance music that we are accustomed to or we are, familiar with. Because you're right, there isn't really a crescendo in a lot of these songs. There's not no big build up for a beat drop. Like that's not really on this album,
Yeah.
basically at all. But it gave me a lot of Y2K vibes. And if anyone is like old enough to remember what I'm talking about, like please in the comments let me know. But it's kind of this like ethereal, like house garage type of sound. They're very much like late again, like Y2K was like late 90s, like very early 2000s. And this
Hmm.
sounds like a modern version of that kind of sound, but I don't think these are the best songs on the project. I think all the songs on the project that are like not this sound
Yeah,
stand out way more.
I
Like
agree.
a song like Loser, you're
Love
like,
that
okay,
song.
this is way better. And then the best one to me is Obsolete. This song has crack in it. This is probably the actual best song on this project. But what I thought was Kevin is such a unique artist because he's not the strongest vocally. That's never
Hmm.
been his bag. And we never really, have him lose points for that in terms of reviewing him. And this is a song that I thought to myself, who else could be on this record and
Wait,
make it sound better?
okay, keep going. I don't want to interrupt you.
No, I'm asking you, who else could be on Obsolete and make it sound better?
Well, Rosalia, maybe actually. Maybe I'm just maybe Rosalia.
Mm,
She could have because that song,
Little Mommy.
the production of that song, at the beginning, which is it's like using shakers and it's got this very I guess like relaxed drumming. I'm trying to think of like a good adjective for that drumming. And also there's a guitar in there. It's like a little bit of Spanish guitar in the background. I'm like, we could have gone like first half and then change it just slightly and a Rosalia could have jumped on this or Young Miko, a little Young Miko. I did listen to the Young
Hmm.
Miko album by the way, and it was good. But
Wow.
yeah, so I think that a couple of Latin artists actually could have helped. Not Bad Bunny. Bad Bunny's too pop, too electronic,
Hmm.
in a specific way. So yeah, Rosalia, Young Miko, maybe. Um, Obsolete. I want to talk about Obsolete for a second here. That ending where that and then it's like the unpredictability of that end. I loved it, man. I that's like my that's this is the song where I was like, this is in contention for my favorite Tame Impala song ever. It's like that. I was like, I'm here on the edge of my seat. I'm like,
What's gonna happen next?
I fucking love that song, man. I love that song so much. I love the guitar on that track so much, man.
No, that to me is the best song on here.
Hmm.
In a way that we don't always say, it's almost quantifiable. This is just the actual best song on here. And in a way, it makes Ethereal Connection more palatable because Ethereal Connection to me is the biggest culprit of what the melanated people call the uns music. And the thing is, I think that there's almost an openness you have with Kevin Parker's music
Hmm.
that you say to yourself, I'm ready to go where this is going to take me. And
Mm.
Ethereal Connection is some of that vibe where you're listening to it and you can say, okay, I don't know where we're headed right now, but I'm open to it. He's done it enough times on different albums where this is okay, this is better than I thought that it was going to be. Ethereal Connection just doesn't work for me on this project. This is one of those
Yeah.
records that I think this album as a whole suffers from songs like this, especially when you have songs like Obsolete that are just so bright and colorful and vibrant that you want more of that instead
Yeah.
of what this is. So that's my last bit of production notes is that the sequencing on this project actually makes it worse. Like maybe one of my least favorite sequence projects from Tame Impala probably ever.
Yeah, which is crazy to say considering his music is always brilliantly sequenced to the point where you don't even realize you listen to a different song,
Yep.
but it's still got you in its grips, you know what I mean?
Hmm.
So yeah, Ethereal Connection, Not in Love. But basically every song where he went where it was like I'm making my electronic songs, I just wasn't following him in that space. Like the Afro House, bro, I love you, but he's almost like no, seriously, but he's like 2 years late on Afro House because back then you could have been like, oh, Afro House was like cool and like interesting and like new, but like now it's just oversaturated. And for him to be following a wave is irregular for Tame Impala. Like I never would have considered him an artist to do something like that. So
Yeah, that's a good point. He's never been a wave
Yeah.
follower. I do want to give him credit before we get to lyrics that the kind of ethereal late 90s or 2000s sound that he's pairing with these drums is a
Hmm.
little different than what's in the center right now. But I still don't think it's an absolute hit in terms of execution. So
Yeah.
I like the kind of different take on it, but I still think there's something missing here.
Right. I think this will be my like crossover song. Um, Dracula, which I loved. I love Dracula. I think it's a very fun song. I think his singing actually really fits. You know, I don't we don't really talk about his singing very much because it's so washed out and it's so like like I feel like many people can sing his parts, but nobody else
Mhm.
can make the music that he makes. So we allow we're allowing it. But that song, especially at the first, I want to say the first minute and a half, it has this like almost like kind of like Michael Jackson like intro where like the triangle, the dance style production, and I was feeling a little bit like should have thrown the weekend on this song, bro. Like actually, because I think the latest weekend albums were leading up to something like this. Go ahead. It looks like you're about to say something.
The weekend would have fit. That's who I thought of too. I said this is a perfect song for the weekend. This is the
Hmm.
kind of production I would like to see the weekend do more of. Even though he's already been leading this direction for the past, 2, 3 albums,
Yeah.
I think Kevin has a little bit of a different take on it that's a little more refreshing.
Yeah, I agree. The Weeknd has kind of been taking songs like this and like bring them all the way up. You know, push the sliders all the way up. But this would be a lower key type of track, and I think it would have worked well for both of them, honestly. I think I don't know if the Weeknd had his own verse or if he just sung the second verse or something like that. It would have been awesome. Or if the Weeknd just sung the entire song, I don't know. But I
It
see
would have
the
worked.
Weeknd on this track a lot.
Mhm.
Do you have the lyrics that you're interested in?
Yeah, I really only have one set of lyrics because I think this is probably the least lyrically dense album they've done in a while.
Hmm.
Slow Rush, I think, was a kind of in the middle. Currents actually was very lyrical
Yeah.
compared to what had happened beforehand, even though it is like so loud in terms of production.
Hmm.
But Kevin's always been a talented writer, and I think that's a big part of why hip hop really loves him. Is that his writing still hits, even though the production is the main thing that we're here for.
Hmm.
On End of Summer in verse one, short little verse, he says, everybody knows how I feel about you. So you can act surprised if you need to. And I'm still your friend if you think it's worth it. It just means that I'll see you when I see you. Like that part hits.
Hmm.
And that's like really having closure with someone, quote unquote breaking up with someone, but in such a way where it's he's saying, I still care about you. There's still love here, but I gotta love you from afar. So I love that, and just to start the song off, it kind of shows you where we're headed. Like starting the song off with this, 4 bar stanza of, I'm still your friend if you think it's worth it. I hope no one ever has to say those words in real life, but Kevin, I felt you when you said that in this song. And then saying it just means that I'll see you when I see you. This is that breakup where you think you're still gonna be friends. We're still
Hmm.
gonna be cool. We're gonna be acquaintances. I'll see you when I see you. Yeah, this is the kind of writing that's all over this project, and that even though again it's not that many lyrics on this thing, it's a lot of oh
Yeah.
ah. Even in this section, you hear some of that as well. But when he does have lyrics on here, usually they're good.
Yeah, I think I mentioned Dracula. If you look at the lyrics on Dracula, this is where he's like I would say doing pretty well on storytelling. Dracula verse Actually, I'll give you verse 1 and verse 2. They're short, so I can do this. Verse 1, the morning light is turning blue. The feeling is bizarre. The night is almost over. I still don't know who you are. The shadows, yeah, they keep me pretty, like a movie star. Daylight makes me feel like Dracula. And then there's verse 2. I'm on the verge of caving in. I run back through the dark. Now I'm Mr. Charisma, fucking Pablo Escobar. My friends are saying, shut up, Kevin, just get in the car. I just want to be right where you are. right? And then in the chorus, he's like, "Run from the sun like Dracula, run from the sun like Dracula." Doesn't that sound like a weekend chorus? I don't know. That sounds like the weekend to me. But basically, the song is about staying out late and like the idea of being a party animal or a party person at night. And it's like,
Hmm.
daylight makes me feel like Dracula. Like that's how steeped into the nightlife that you are, that you constantly just view your life through darkness, like through the nighttime instead of daytime, like the regular people. So I thought that was good. And then he's like, run from the sun like Dracula, like the idea of like, you're not out during the day. You're only out during the night. You only go out during the night. I thought that was cool. I thought that's a cool instance of his songwriting, just like flipping like a life or a lifestyle on a character, a well-known character like Dracula, like that. So I think it was cool. And the hook actually does like good storytelling within the song. So I gotta hand it to him. A little storytelling, a little meaning to the songs. I can't really get down on it. I can't really hate on it, especially when we're talking about the type of music that he's making.
Yeah, my favorite thing about him, and this is, coincides with his music, but more about him as a personality and a celebrity, is we know what he looks like, but we don't see him that often.
Right.
He doesn't really do interviews, rarely does press. And I think that has helped his career up until this point. You talk about the song Dracula, where he basically saying, I come alive in the nighttime. Like,
Hmm.
nighttime is my time. Don't catch me in the daytime. And I think about that messaging in the music. It's something you see a lot in hip hop of really glorifying the nightlife. And not something that he's done as much, but him and Drake are the same age. And I think about if we were to have this same theme in the song talking about Drake, it would be a whole different connotation of
Hmm.
he's outside too much. Why is he doing this? And I think that's part of, someone like Drake being so visible that these kind of lyrics are like, "Oh, okay, we get it. You're outside." We've never seen Kevin Parker outside like that. Like he could be outside going crazy. We actually have no idea. And I think even someone like The Weeknd in the same boat where he's been singing about doing drugs, but you're not seeing him on drugs in the Charlie Sheen, Robert Downey Jr. type of way. And so, this is kind of the rare time when someone's public persona and the music are coinciding in part because there is no public persona. And
Hmm.
like this is a rare time where that actually benefits him. So I think that that's a big plus here. Do you have any other lyrics before we talk about what it means for his career?
No, I'll just say loser. Okay, one last one was just like to
Mm.
rip it off. I think that on Loser, which I like that song a lot, again, kind of feels a little bluesy. Where he's like, I had to tell you, it's now or never, so much for closure, I lost composure. I get the message, I learned my lesson, tried to correct it, I think I wrecked it. Man, it's a crisis. I'm never like this. That's how my life is. You couldn't write this. If he rapped that would have been, I mean, it sounds good song, but that could have been rapped.
That
That
could have
sounded,
been really good. That could have
yeah,
been really good.
that could have been pretty crazy rap. But I think the idea that, the self, the self-hatred, calling oneself a loser, and then again, in combination with the production, sounds amazing, and it definitely drives the idea home. So, I agree. The public persona thing, because he is not very. I mean, he's visible in the sense that you could see him, but Kevin Parker is not a person where we're following along the life of Kevin Parker. So songs like this can actually survive in a sense where when we're talking about Drake, we're like Drake writing a song about being a loser would be like a very like you would have to you're threading a needle. You're threading a needle.
100%. Because the thing I've been thinking about with all these artists that we reviewed lately, Taylor Swift, Doja Cat, Cardi B, is we can't separate the public persona from the music anymore in 2025. Like that is just something that is non-existent.
Hmm.
And Kevin Parker really rides that line of we know what he looks like. He's not faceless anymore, like The Weeknd was at one point.
Hmm.
But we don't have a sense of his personality. We don't know kind of his type of humor, his cadence when he talks. Like those things are not widely known. And so I think just even something small like that is helpful in this music compared to someone like Cardi B, who Cardi B, it probably has more stuff of her talking on the internet than actual music. Um,
That's so true.
so I think this is one of those situations where you might not think about the persona because it's like so muted in a sense,
Hmm.
but it actually is helping the music we're listening to. How this goes for his career, I am actually unsure. This is the first unsure answer I've ever had in this category
Following
because
my footsteps.
following my footsteps is crazy. Because here's where I'm at, and in the comments, all you guys let me know where you feel about this. I think this album has some redeeming qualities in terms of sounds he's never made before and music that is for an audience that's not his audience. It reminds me of Currents in that way, where you might not be into lonerism. That's not your jam. But you hear some of the uns music on this album and you're into that. So for that reason, I think it could be a plus. But why I'm unsure is because the Slow Rush really, really did not have the same reception as Currents. It was 5 years between Currents and the Slow Rush.
Hmm.
And of course, there was a pandemic. A lot of things were involved in that. But it will now be 10 years since Currents. And I would guess there's a lot of Tame Impala fans who haven't listened to Tame Impala since Currents. And so if you're coming
Whoa.
back in,
Who are these people, bro? The slow rush was
a lot
good.
a lot of people don't listen to Slow Rush. No, it was, but a lot of people did not listen to it. It was very much slept on.
Mm.
So if you're coming back post pandemic into Tame Impala and this is your re-entry after Currents, I can see you being a little bit confused with what you're hearing. So for that reason, I'm unsure. But for me, this is going to be a plus for his career. Like Kevin Parker will still be Kevin Parker. This doesn't change any of that.
Yeah, I think it's a plus because he's back in the sphere, back in the picture. But he's not I wouldn't say this is like a him with a bullet in reappearing, you know what I mean? It's like he's back. Tim Impala new album. You know what I
That's it. That's it. No, I want to push back on that because you're right. This is not the level we're used to. We're not going to ruin our scores,
mean?
but the fastball is still there. There are some songs on here that you say, okay, he still has his fastball. And to me, that's what really matters when it comes to artists like this who are legacy status. They're set in a live show's already done.
Yeah.
Because all you want to know is that you still can make one good song. You know, if you can't make any good songs anymore, then we're in a whole different group of people. We know who those people are.
Yeah.
But there's at least three or four tracks on this record that you say, okay, I'll play these again. They'll go into a playlist. So to me, that's what matters here. Of he's not totally washed. Like that's kind of the main thing here.
Yeah, I agree. But to go from the slow rush to washed, I feel like that's a big jump. Maybe I'm the only person that thought that that album was good. I don't know. I thought it was really good, like really, really good.
Hmm.
Okay. Do you think it is a no skips?
No, 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 no. I
Okay.
don't think it's in those skips. I think the sequencing is probably my least favorite part of this album. So just for that, I can't call it in those skips.
Okay. I would call it a skippable just because kind of over the Afro House thing. It feels a little bit old, a little bit dated, but I don't know how much the average person, like in the mainstream or general public in North America, has heard Afro House. So it might be new for them, but because of Tasim,
That's a good point.
shout out again to Tasim. I've known about Afro House for multiple years now. So
Hmm.
I'm already like, yeah. He's kind of just doing the regular. Not super interesting. Um, is it a vinyl cop?
No,
Okay.
not a vinyl cop for me. What about you?
I would say no as well. Um, Even though the cover, I kind of like the cover. We never even talked about the cover.
No, let's talk about the cover. I was gonna say I like the cover
Yeah.
too, but not enough to cop the vinyl. But this may be a top five Tame Impala cover. Can we say that? Is that safe to say? But he hasn't had a bad cover. I'll give him that. Even the cover for the singles are good.
Yeah.
So
I would say it's
yeah, the
better than
artwork is
Lonerism.
still good.
The cover is better than the Lonerism cover. I think the Lonerism cover is the weakest one.
Really interesting.
Yeah.
Okay,
Even though I
I'm not
love
mad at that.
Lonerism.
I think a lot of people would say Slow Rush, but
You just
if
hating
if,
on
if
Slow Rush. I think you're hating on Slow Rush.
I like Slow Rush. I told you this was my last time as a music director. I love Slow Rush. but I know that it was not widely consumed the way they had in the past.
Okay, well, I think the Slow Rush looked great.
Hmm.
And I think that yeah, I think that this is probably the second worst album cover, I would say.
Okay.
4 out of 5. The fourth out of the
All right.
five.
Top five,
Okay.
not five.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Adriel, do you have a
Hmm.
score for Deadbeat?
So at first, I did not have a score for Deadbeat by Tame Impala. I listened to it a few times, and it was all over the place in terms of where I was at with a score. I'm landing at a 5.5. This album is above
Okay.
average to me. There are too many things on here that I don't think I'll go back to. And as an album, this record suffers. The sequencing is not good. The flow between some of the songs is just all over the place. So, as an album, it suffers. Not as much replay value in full that there should be for an album of this quality of artist.
Right.
So it's a 5.5 for me.
Okay. I don't hate a 5.5. I think for me, Deadbeat by Tim Impala. I think it's a 5.5 too. Not super impressive. Not very impressed. Which is that's tough to say for Tim Impala because Tim Impala, if we were reviewing all of his music up until now, he would be a Hall of Famer, I think. Album Mode
I
Hall of
think
Fame.
so. Yeah.
Pretty easily, actually. So for this to be our first review of his and for it to be basically his worst album, by a significant margin, I think, is kind of sad. Kind of sad.
Yes.
But he's been going at it since what the Inner Speaker was 2010, so he's been 15 years in. And we compare musicians to athletes all the time.
Hmm.
Eventually, you start running out of ideas. You just do. It's okay. Like that's fine.
Hmm.
The
Hmm.
athleticism starts to decrease. The hand-eye coordination's not there as much anymore. You start becoming a follower instead of a leader, like we are talking about with the Afro House thing. It just happens. Eventually,
Nobody perfect.
just it starts to slip away, and unfortunately, it has happened. I think it's happening because the Slow Rush was 5 years ago. If he's gonna release it, I cannot imagine him releasing another album in like a year or two, trying to switch it up or something like that. He doesn't really do that. Like loan from Inner Speaker to Lonerism was 2010 to 2012, and then after that was Current South, it's 2015, so that's 3 years, and then Slow Rush 2020, that's 5 years, and then now we're at Deadbeat, that's another 5 years. So this might be it, low key.
I'm not gonna go that far. I still have some faith. I want to know what everyone else thinks in the comments. You guys let me know. What do you guys think about this project? Where does it rank among Tame Impala projects? That's very important. But why I have faith is because it is not the same as any project in the past.
Hmm.
And an artist like this, that's what you want to see is them trying something different. Now, there's gonna be misses, okay? Everyone heard that Kid Cudi rock album. Kid Cudi has great rock songs, but that album was not a hit. But that's bound to happen. You try enough things, some of them are going to miss. Kanye had his gospel album, okay? If you try enough things, something is not going to work.
Hmm.
This may be the one for Kevin Parker and Tame Impala, but I still have faith just because he's still trying things. So that's a plus for me. You guys can find us on all your podcast platforms. Leave us a rating and a review, 5 stars, not a single star less. Of course, all over social media, Instagram, X, TikTok, Album Mode Pod on all those platforms. And of course, YouTube at Album Mode. And until next time, know yourself, know your worth.
Later days.